Last time we learned how money worries in general and poor investment decisions in particular are a major cause of stress. Rational analysis produces sensible investment decisions. Emotions lead to bad ones. And for better returns, stop fretting about your investments and enjoy life. An annual review is all you need. You might be thinking, this all sounds just too good to be true. Passive costs you less money, and yet it offers you ultimate diversification. It's good for your health and ultimately your wealth. But if passive really is superior to active in so many ways, why aren't more people doing it? Let's find out. Perhaps the single biggest reason why active still holds sway is the fund management industry itself. It's a powerful sector with a vested interest in maintaining the status quo.
When you have a market that's $1 trillion, and they're able to scrape off $20 billion a year or 2% per year from that to feed themselves, they don't want to give that up. So there's an awful lot of marketing and a lot of convincing of the public that they need active management, that they need to pay 2% per year. It's all about keeping the money in the pockets of the people who are creating the funds as opposed to putting the money in the pockets of the people who are taking the risk.
Of course, the industry spends vast amounts on advertising. The news media might also play a part in making us invest the way we do.
There is quite a bit of evidence that when you're dealing with very complex issues such as investing, that the complexity is so severe that people end up just going with quick hunches. And you have a whole industry out there, the finance industry, that is built on it's built on an illusion that there's a free lunch out there. That's what you're being sold every day in the magazines, because a magazine can't make money saying, you should be passive and do the same this year as you did last year.
We could have an article week after week after week telling people, passive investing, that's the way to go. That story gets old. There's no news here. Versus, I'm trying to write an investment story. This week, I have this really beautiful, articulate woman who's got a strategy. Next week, I've got this really handsome, outgoing, gregarious guy who has a strategy. They all make the cover of my magazine, makes it much more interesting. Versus me, put me on the cover, you're not selling anything.
There's another explanation, I think, which is overconfidence. There is a mountain of literature from the psychological field explaining that people, for whatever reason, exhibit this persistent behavioral characteristic. We tend to think we know more than we do. We think it's easier to see the future than it actually is. And it's fairly straightforward to document this. What's more interesting is that the research also tends to show that even when you point out these behavioral biases to people, they continue to engage in it.
I think passive investing is less popular than using active managers because in many ways it seems inherently defeatist. It's almost saying, I don't possess the skills to select a superior manager, that it's impossible to beat the benchmark, so why even try? I think this almost defeatist angle really turns some people off to the idea of passive investing, because after all, we all ultimately believe that we're exceptional.
Even with the knowledge, that passive investing is better, a lot of people still won't adopt it because they like to think they can do better. It's human nature. Everybody thinks they're a better than average driver. And in the same way, they think that they can pick a fund better than anybody else.
For others, the main reason why active investing is still far more popular than passive is a simple lack of awareness among the general population.
Primarily, I would say it's a lack of education. But then secondly, passive funds, because they don't make much money for the financial companies, while they do make money for us, they're really not promoted.
People are simply confused. Most people don't get the opportunity to hear that, active investing is clearly a negative sum game. Just an adding up constraint, no science, just arithmetic. That's news to most people.
It's not about getting investment returns or superior returns above the rest of the market or beating our competitors. Our job is to educate the general public. And I do believe over the next 10 to 15 years, the general public will realise that the only way to have a successful investment experience is to own as much as the market as you can, be well diversified, and make sure that you sit in a really, really diverse portfolio with substantially reduced charges.
In summary then, the largely self-regulated fund management industry has a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. Human beings have a tendency towards overconfidence, and that's reflected in the way we invest. And while active funds are widely advertised, passive funds aren't, and nor do they command much media attention.